Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. You've probably heard a lot of things about Social Security over the years, from friends, from coworkers, from headlines, even some workers at Social Security field offices. But here's the thing, a lot of the stuff we've been told is wrong. In this video, I'm walking you through the most common myths people believe about Social Security. And more importantly, I'm going to give you the real facts so you can make the smartest possible decision for your future. Let's start with the basics. How your Social Security benefit is actually calculated, because this is where a lot of the confusion begins. Myth: Social Security is based on your last earning years. This myth is absolutely everywhere, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard it, even from people who swear they've been given this advice from somebody at their local Social Security office. This idea that your Social Security benefits are based on your last few years of work leading up to your retirement and right before you claim. So the idea that you retire early and then don't claim Social Security for a while would ultimately leave you with a whole bunch of zeros that would drag down your benefit, and this is simply not the case. So let's break it down. Let's say you want to retire at the age of 60, but you don't want to claim Social Security until the age of 65. If you've been given this advice that Social Security is based on the years leading up to when you claim, a lot of people are left with the belief that having zeros in the years prior to claiming Social Security would bring down their benefit. But that's not how Social Security is calculated. Social Security is based on your highest 35 years of earnings, adjusted for inflation. It's not based on your last 5 years of earnings. It's not based on your last 10 years of earnings. It is based on your highest 35 years of earnings, regardless of when they happened. Let's do a somewhat extreme example to help illustrate this. Let's say starting work right out of the gate at the age of 20, you had an income high enough to max out Social Security taxes, and you worked in a field just like that for the next 35 years. And then at the age of 55, you stepped away from the workforce altogether, never to have another dollar of earned income. So you have 35 years where you maxed out Social Security. If you wait until your full retirement age to claim, you would be entitled to the maximum Social Security payout because you have 35 years where you had the highest earnings possible in terms of Social Security. For reference, the maximum benefit at full retirement age in 2025 is $4,018 per month. And that's exactly the benefit you'd qualify for even if you hadn't worked in the past 10 or 15 years, because Social Security is calculated on your 35 highest earning years regardless of when you earned them. It doesn't matter if you took time off, it doesn't matter if you had a late start to the workforce or that you retired early. As long as you have 35 years of earned income, you won't have any zeros in your calculation. Social Security doesn't just look at your last job, it looks at a lifetime of earnings. Myth: Your early career earnings don't count for much. This myth is everywhere, that your early earning years or your lower earning years don't really have that much of an impact on your Social Security benefits. But the fact of the matter is, this isn't true. And those early years may matter more than you think for one very important reason. Social Security adjusts for inflation, and it adds up. Let's say 40 years ago, you were earning about $24,000 a year. That was roughly the median household income back in 1985, according to the US Census Bureau. And you might look at that figure and say, well, that's not going to help much when it comes to calculating my Social Security benefits. But here's the key. Social Security indexes your earlier earnings for inflation. Any income earned before the year you turn 60 is scaled up to reflect today's wages. So if you're reaching full retirement age in 2025, that $24,000 earned in 1985 would be adjusted for inflation, turning it into the equivalent of about $95,000 in today's dollars. That's the number that would get used when calculating your Social Security benefits, not the $24,000 number. So yes, those early earnings absolutely do matter, and they might pull more weight than you actually think. Myth: Social Security gives you back what you put in, dollar for dollar. This one sounds logical, but it misses a crucial detail in how Social Security works. And yes, it's true that if you have a higher lifetime set of income, you will get a higher benefit. Social Security itself is progressive, so that means you get a higher percentage replacement on lower earnings. Social Security uses a formula to calculate your primary insurance amount, the amount you would be entitled to at full retirement age. And that formula is based on your average indexed monthly earnings, your AIME, and it uses bend points to apply different replacement rates to different portions of your income. Here's a simple example. Let's say we have an individual who has AIME of $5,000. Once we plug that into the formula, we come to the conclusion that their total monthly benefit would be about $2,300. Alternatively, let's look at an individual who has an AIME of $10,000. Their total monthly benefit would be nearly $3,500. So even though our second individual earned twice as much, they still only receive about $11,150 additional in benefits, and that's because those early lower earned dollars are replaced at a much higher rate. So do not underestimate those early earnings or those lower earning years. Not only are those early years indexed for inflation, lower earnings are weighted more heavily when plugged into the Social Security formula. And it very well could be that they end up doing more for your Social Security payout than the earnings you have later in life. Let's talk about one of the biggest decisions you'll face when it comes to Social Security: when to claim. Myth: there's a best age to claim Social Security. Here's a fun one. The best age to claim Social Security, is it 62, claiming early, or is it waiting until full retirement age, or waiting all the way until the age of 70 to capture that maximum benefit? The truth is, there is no one size fits all. There is no singular best age. The best age for you is the one that fits in with your financial plan, your health outlook, and your long-term plan. Maybe you want to claim early at the age of 62. Maybe this gives you peace of mind. You get to step away from the workforce, you get to lock in a guaranteed income stream, and it reduces the pressure on your investments. Or maybe you're planning to continue working throughout your early 60s, so claiming early would result in a benefit reduction or unnecessary taxes. In that case, maybe it's ideal for you to wait until full retirement age. Or maybe your top priority is maximizing your Social Security payout for the long haul. You want the highest monthly benefit possible so you can have a higher income floor for a better sense of security in your later years of retirement. And in that case, maybe you wait until the age of 70. Any one of these can be the right situation. It just depends on your situation. And of course, there are arguments for both sides. Some say you should claim early to ensure you get something before it's too late. Others say you should delay to maximize your total lifetime benefit, especially if you expect to live well into your 80s or 90s. But here's the thing: a headline, an online calculator, or a neighbor can't tell you when the best age to claim is. The best age for you depends on your life, your finances, your health, and your peace of mind. Myth: Social Security is going broke, so I should claim as soon as possible. This myth is everywhere, and honestly, it causes a lot of panic, and understandably so. If you thought the system was going to go bust, having the mentality that you're just going to capture something while you can makes a lot of sense. But here's the truth. Yes, Social Security's trust fund reserves are projected to run out around 2034 or 2035 if no changes are made. But that doesn't mean Social Security is going bankrupt or that benefits are going to vanish entirely. Let's look at the absolute worst case scenario. If Congress does nothing, which history tells us is pretty unlikely. In this situation, payroll taxes would still cover about 75 to 83% of scheduled benefits. That's because the system is funded by workers currently paying into it, not just trust reserves. Let's break it down with an example. Let's say your monthly benefit is $2,200. If benefits were cut by 25%, you'd still receive $1,650 per month. Would that kind of pay cut feel good? Absolutely not. But it's important to understand your benefits would not be going to zero. And truthfully, I don't think anything like that type of reduction would happen. I believe Congress is going to step in just like they did back in 1983 and make changes to keep Social Security stable for the long term. There are already dozens of proposals on the table of how to do this. So yes, Social Security needs reform, but it's not going to disappear. So don't make a decision to lock in an early lower payment simply because of fear. Make a decision that works with your financial plan. Don't let panic drive your retirement strategy. And honestly, if you're someone who's already in their 50s or 60s and beyond, you're less likely to be affected by the reform that will come to Social Security. It's more likely to affect younger generations. Myth: the trust fund has been raided or spent by the government. This myth stirs up a lot of emotion, and understandably so. You've paid into Social Security your entire working career. You want to know that they're there and that they're protected. But when people see headlines like the government just raided the Social Security trust funds, it can feel like an outright betrayal. But let's be clear, there is no vault somewhere in DC that has a whole bunch of cash for Social Security set aside. There never was. But on the other hand, this fund has never been looted. Here's what's happening. Since 1983, excess Social Security revenue has been invested in interest-bearing U.S. Treasury bonds, just like other government trust funds. The government uses these funds to fund general obligations, and then once the bonds mature, they get paid back to the Social Security Trust plus interest. That's how the system was designed, and that's how trusts work. Think of it like moving money from your savings account into treasury bills. That money is still yours. You've just temporarily lent it to someone else who gets to use it, and then in turn will pay you back the amount you paid in plus interest. If you buy a treasury bill for $10,000, that money isn't just sitting around somewhere. The government will use it to fund other priorities. And then, once this bond matures, you get back your original $10,000 plus interest. And this is exactly what's happening with the Social Security trust funds. And this is really what trusts are. The money isn't just sitting idly by in an account. It gets used and put to work and in turn earns interest. Claiming benefits doesn't mean you're done working. So let's talk about what happens if you claim early and keep earning an income, or you want to grow your benefit later. Myth: if I claim before full retirement age, my benefits are lost forever. This one causes a lot of unnecessary panic. The idea that you claim Social Security early, but then end up working and earning an income and you experience a reduction in benefits, the idea that these benefits are gone for good. But that's not how it works. Yes, if you claim before your full retirement age and earn more than the annual earnings limit, some of your benefits may be withheld. But here's the key: they're not lost, they're just delayed. Let's say you claim Social Security early, at the age of 63, but then you end up working full-time and your earnings bring you over the annual earnings limit. So Social Security withholds some of your benefits. Once you reach full retirement age, they will recalculate your benefits to ensure that you get paid back for any months where you didn't receive full payouts. In other words, you get a higher monthly payout going forward to make up for those months where you didn't receive full payments. So think of it like this. Don't think of it as a penalty or a fine. Think of it as a temporary hold. And once you hit full retirement age, Social Security adjusts your benefits to catch you up. So no, working while earning Social Security, even if you exceed the annual limits, isn't throwing away money. You just might end up delaying some of it, but that delay does eventually get factored in. If you're planning on continuing to work in your early 60s prior to full retirement age, maybe a better course of action is to not claim Social Security so you don't have to risk going over this earnings threshold and have a temporary hold on some of your benefits. Because once you reach full retirement age, you can earn as much as you want and it doesn't affect your benefits in any way. The bottom line, if you claim before full retirement age and earn above the annual limit, you may have some of your benefits temporarily withheld, but they're not gone forever. Social Security will recalculate your benefit once you reach full retirement age, and then your monthly benefit would get a boost. So don't let this scare you away from going back to work if that's what you decide is best for your situation. Myth: claiming early at 62 means I'm locked out of higher benefits forever. This is a pretty common misconception. For those who claim early, maybe they decided that they still wanted a larger benefit, so they regret this early decision, but they assume once they've already claimed, they've locked in this lower benefit for life. But here's the truth. You can increase your benefit even if you claimed early. Let's break it down. If you claim Social Security at age 62, your monthly benefit is permanently reduced compared to what you would get at your full retirement age or if you waited until 70. That reduction is real, and it's based on the fact that you're receiving benefits over a longer period of time. But there's a special option once you reach full retirement age. You can choose to suspend your benefits. During the suspended period, your monthly benefits can continue to grow. Specifically, from full retirement age to the age of 70, your benefits can grow at a rate of 8% per year, and this is thanks to delayed retirement credits. Let's say you started collecting Social Security at 62, and by 67, your full retirement age, you realize you'd prefer a higher monthly payment going forward. You can tell Social Security, pause my payments, and starting at that point, your benefit will begin to grow again, up to 24% higher if you wait all the way until the age of 70 to resume collecting. Claiming early does reduce your benefits, but it doesn't mean you're stuck forever. If you decide that you want to pause your benefits and increase what that payout would otherwise be, you have that option. Now let's tackle some of the more surprising and often frustrating parts of Social Security, like taxes and how the system treats higher earners. Myth: Social Security isn't taxed. This one catches a lot of retirees by surprise. The idea that once you start collecting Social Security, you receive those benefits entirely tax-free. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. If you're a lower income earner, it's unlikely that you'll pay anything in the way of federal taxes on your Social Security benefits. However, once your household income exceeds certain thresholds, a portion of your Social Security income can be subject to tax. And keep in mind that these thresholds are not adjusted for inflation, so every year we end up with more retirees paying taxes on their Social Security benefits. So how does it work? The IRS uses something called combined income to figure out how much of your Social Security benefits are subject to tax. Here's the formula: your adjusted gross income plus non-taxable interest plus half your Social Security benefits. For individual filers, if their combined income falls between $25,000 and $34,000, up to 50% of their Social Security benefits may be taxed. If their income exceeds $34,000, up to 85% of benefits may be taxable. And for those married, filing jointly, if combined income is between $32,000 and $44,000, up to 50% of benefits are taxable. If the income is exceeding $44,000, then up to 85% of benefits could be taxable. One quick important note about OBBB, or One Big Beautiful Bill. There's a bit of a narrative being pushed that this bill essentially makes Social Security benefits tax-free for the vast majority of Americans. But while there is a new senior deduction that can absolutely help to lower your tax bill, note that OBBB certainly does not eliminate federal taxes on Social Security. So Social Security income can certainly be taxable. It depends on your total income threshold, and ultimately up to 85% of your benefits could be taxable. It's never more than 85%, and they're not taxed at a rate of 85%. It's taxed at your ordinary income levels. And while your benefits are never taxed in full, it certainly doesn't mean that they're always tax-free either. It depends on your situation, and understanding how combined income works can help you strategize your withdrawals and create a retirement plan that works for you. Myth: Social Security doesn't count for high earners. I won't get anything back. This is a common belief, especially among higher income earners who are paying into Social Security and decade after decade, maxing out their payroll taxes, thinking, oh, I'm not really going to get much back for this. But the truth is, if you've paid into Social Security, you will get something back, even as a high earner. Yes, Social Security is progressive. It's designed to replace a larger percentage of income for lower earners and a smaller percentage for those at the top. But that certainly doesn't mean that higher income earners get nothing. In fact, if you had a high income earning household with two high income earners, you could ultimately receive Social Security benefits that are near six figures. That's a meaningful payout. For lower income earners, Social Security is designed to replace maybe 75 to 80% of their income. For middle income earners, it's designed to replace about 40 to 50% of the income they earn during their working years. For high income earners, only about 25 to 30%. And for max earners, 20% or less. Let's say you were a high-income earner all your life who consistently maxed out Social Security taxes on your wage base, and you did this consistently for 35 years. At full retirement age, you could receive the maximum Social Security benefit of $4,018 a month, or over $48,000 a year in guaranteed inflation-adjusted income. Over a 25 or 30-year retirement, that adds up to over $1 million in benefits. Now, if you had that money privately held and invested it yourself, would you be able to generate better returns? Probably, but it's certainly not nothing. The bottom line, Social Security may not replace a large share of income for higher earners, but it still provides guaranteed lifetime income, inflation protection, spousal and survivor benefits, and some of the best longevity insurance that money can buy. So while the system is certainly more generous to lower income earners, it still does reward higher income earners with diminishing returns at the top. If you've paid into Social Security, you're certainly going to get something out, and that something just might end up being way more than you ever expected. Finally, let's clear up some of the most misunderstood rules around who's eligible, including spouses, ex-spouses, and those who didn't work outside the home. Myth: an ex-spouse's benefit reduces my own. This myth is surprisingly common and deeply emotional, especially for those who've had long marriages and then subsequently difficult divorces. This idea that if your ex were to claim benefits on your record, that it would somehow reduce your benefit. But that's not how the system works. If your ex-spouse claims Social Security based on your record, it doesn't affect your benefits at all. Zero, zilch, none. You still qualify for 100% of your benefits. Social Security handles these claims completely independently and completely behind the scenes. You don't need your ex's permission. You don't even have to let them know that you filed on their claim. Social Security won't let them know. Here's how it works. If you were married to your ex for 10 years or more, you're now divorced and not remarried, or at least 62 years or older, and your own benefit is lower than what you'd receive based on your ex's record, then you may be eligible to receive up to 50% of your ex-spouse's full retirement benefit if you wait to claim at your full retirement age. If you file before full retirement age, you will receive a reduced benefit. But I want to reiterate, you don't need to contact your ex. You don't need their permission. They don't even have to know you filed. Social Security doesn't take a piece of their benefits and give it to you. They calculate these numbers independently. It doesn't affect their benefit at all. Even if your ex has remarried, you can still claim benefits on their record, so long as you haven't remarried, unless it's after the age of 60 and unless you're filing for survivor benefits. But that's a different rule, and I do have an entire video on it, and I'll link it above and down below if you want to check it out. Myth: if I didn't work, I can't get Social Security. This one is very discouraging and often misunderstood. People feel like if they didn't work outside the home or they didn't directly pay into Social Security, that they're not entitled to benefits. But here's the truth. Even if you never worked outside the home, or maybe you worked very little outside the home, you still may be entitled to Social Security benefits if you claim on your spouse's or ex-spouse's record. Here's how it works. If you're married to someone who qualifies for Social Security, and you're at least 62 years old, and you've been married for at least 1 year, then you could receive up to 50% of your spouse's full retirement benefits, even if you never worked a day in your life. As you can imagine, this provision of Social Security can be pretty controversial, but nonetheless, it is a provision that exists. What if you're divorced? If you were married for 10 years or more, you're now divorced and not remarried, and your own benefit is lower than what you'd receive as an ex-spouse, then you may also qualify for up to 50% of your ex-spouse's benefit if claimed at full retirement age, and again, this has no impact on their benefit at all. Social Security is designed to support workers and their families. It's designed to support the entire family. Whether you worked outside the home or contributed to the family in other ways, it is designed as a support system. This rule exists to protect spouses who took time off to raise children, care for aging parents, or support their partner's career, and it ensures that a lifetime of contributions in any form can lead to financial stability in retirement. There's a lot of noise out there when it comes to Social Security, but not all of it's true. Some of these myths are harmless and some of them are very costly. What's most important is that you understand how the system works so you can make the best choices for your future. What myth surprised you the most, or do you have another one to add to the list? Share your thoughts in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. Battery's out. You maxed out Social Security taxes, meaning you had a quite high income. I'm not gonna say that. In my head, I was like, I'm nailing this. And then it came out and I was like, no, I'm not. And then your monthly benefit would get a boost. So if you've already decided, this is a pretty common misconception. Let's say you claim Social Security early and then you decide that you didn't want such a low benefit. Let's not, it's comparative. Let's try to avoid comparative phrasing. Ow, that was my toe and that did not feel good.